cover up the chat. I will not be answering any chat questions initially. I will, however, answer them later. So if you have something specific you want me to address, you can ask them later. I'll try to save a little bit of time. Uh, you can't see anything with your phone. Yeah, yeah. The phone. This is not a good app for use with a phone. So I'll try to save a little bit of time at the end and answer a few questions then if we have time. But during the presentation, Connor is here and several of our traders are here that can answer questions for you. So feel free, if it's a general question, feel free to ask. And I'm sure most of Connor or any of our traders could probably answer. Again, if it's specific for me, just hang on to it, and hopefully we'll have some time at the end. I'll take a couple of questions. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get going. Um, we're breaking this down into 5 easy to digest pieces. Each one of these pieces could be an entire webinar on its own, and someday it may be. But I'm gonna try to condense everything a bit so that we can kind of get to have a lot of your questions answered, or at least more information about the Rockstar. Okay, I'm gonna start off by letting you know that this week for this event, we're gonna give you 2 different offers. A lot of you are adding Rockstar now to your current trading system, and don't really want to use or need to use our trading system. So we do have a special where we're going to knock $50 off of the Rockstar and also give you a week in the trade room if you want to take advantage of that and see how we use the Rockstar in the trade room. If you're ready to go and you're ready to make the commitment, we're going to knock off, what is that, $282 and give you 3 months in the trade room and give you all of the indicators that we use in the trade room. Okay, so as we're Connor just increased it. This is from your page, Connor. Connor just lowered the price. Contact Connor. It's actually, he says it's $550. All right, so you save $75. Even better. This you may go to our new website here, secondbrain.com, and see that there are no reviews yet for these products for the bundle. We just introduced these bundles, so nobody actually owns the master bundle yet. We do have very similar bundles we've been selling for years, but we've kind of retooled the bundles and kind of changed them around so that the Rockstar was included in I think every bundle we have now. So we kind of rebuilt the bundles, renamed them, rebranded them, and so that's why you're not going to see any reviews on the website about that. All right. So what is the Rockstar indicator? We're going to start out at part 1. That's a good place to start, right? So Rockstar is a confluence of conditions that often precedes price direction changes. Okay, so if we're reading every bar, and the confluence of conditions is when we see that price is either overbought or oversold. Now you do that using a momentum oscillator. Okay, when the momentum, when these lines, the oscillator exceeds these extremes, the high or low extreme, then we can combining the rate of orders being processed. Can you guys still hear me, or is it cutting in and out? Am I back? All okay and out. Fine, perfect, good now. Okay, I don't know. This has been one of those technology um, uh, I'll start back there. Am I cutting out still or okay? I turned the mic off and on. Let's see if that's any better. Maybe if I hold it closer to my mouth. Still, huh? Okay. Well, hopefully, uh, if this is good for a lot of you, is it cutting out so bad I need to stop? Okay, so some of you are okay. All right. So the second item on the in the list of things that we're measuring changes. Okay, so and that's really important. I'm not just looking for orders. I'm looking for orders that have been processed and the rate at which they are being processed. Okay, this is very important. The third item that we're measuring is divergence, probably one of the hardest things for people to use, yet it's the most powerful tool that I think we have in our arsenal for identifying areas where price is likely to turn. Okay, so these are three conditions that we're measuring inside of the RockStar indicator. When they all reach a certain level and they're all in agreement with each other, they're going to generate a signal. So for years we've been doing this. We've been generating these indicators. So when price gets overbought or oversold, you'll notice the candlesticks change colors. Okay, we've been doing this for years. When the speed of orders being processed through the exchanges exceed what is likely that traders are able to trade, and we generate what's called a speed tick. We've been doing this for years. We have a new indicator, or relatively new, it's about a year old, called the Super D, which is a indicator that measures seven different levels of seven different oscillators, momentum oscillators, to determine if we have a divergent condition. Okay, divergent condition, very short. This is not a webinar about divergence, so I'm not going to teach you about divergence. We just had one recently. Go to our YouTube page or our website or contact Connor for more information on learning more about divergence. But very simply, divergence is when the swing highs and swing lows of price and momentum no longer are in agreement with each other, which generally speaking, they are going to be in agreement with each other during most of the normal and natural trading. But when they get out of sync with each other, for example, here we have a lower low, here we have a higher low. So they're out of sync. All right. So momentum has changed directions, which causes price to chase it. Okay. All right. So we've been using these for years. The RockStar is simply a combination of all of them together. And rather than needing to see and understand overbought and oversold, seeing and understanding what the market makers are doing, what the quants, the HFTs, the hedge funds, the guys with all the money that can move the market, we can figure out what they're doing by watching these time and sales. Okay, excuse me, not by watching them directly like this, but by reading the rate at which the orders are being processed. Okay, and then when we have a divergent condition, all of those come together. We're just going to generate a rock star, and we're going to put it right where your eyeballs are. So previously, we may have had something that looked like this, which to me is still, for many years, we just called this a speed flash setup. Okay, so we have a speed tick, and then some divergent signals, and then and that showed up at the open of the bar. Okay, now we have the same thing, and if we have all of these conditions in place, it just prints a rock star on the open of this bar. Okay, so what are we looking at? What are the characteristics of a rock star? How can we customize the rock star? Okay, so we just mentioned we have indicators. The first one's called the speed tick. That's the one where we're measuring the rate at which orders are being processed. Okay? And that's where we get the idea and understanding that we know what the market makers are doing. We know what the big boys are doing. All right? And we have our OBOS indicator, our overbought, oversold indicator. Now, inside of that indicator, there are 6 different oscillators. I also forgot to mention on the speed tick, we have 3 different threshold levels inside the speed tick. Okay? We have the rate of order flows going through that we feel that are generated by HFTs or something that is very regular. Okay? Then we have another threshold level that's a little bit faster than what we might be expecting from a regular HFT, but it still fits into our criteria for the most part. But you want to be careful. And then we have a third threshold where maybe something crazy happens in the market, or the president says something crazy, or there's a news event like oil inventories or something like that that causes the markets to go completely wacky. And that's going to be a higher threshold level that we're generally going to ignore. Okay? So we have those levels. They are in the speed tick, and then the speed tick is inside the rock star. So you do have the ability to edit the speed tick inside the rock star. Same with the OBOS, different oscillators. The Super D has 7 different momentum oscillators for measuring. Okay, so you can see how we have a lot of different potential combinations to fit your trading needs. Okay, so you don't just have to. I'm addressing a lot of the people that are here that want to learn about the Rockstar to use with their trading system. To the trading, we actually talked to several people today that they say, I'm doing great. I heard about the Rockstar, wanted to come see what it was about and how I can use it in my trading. Okay, any of the indicators inside the Rockstar can be turned off. Any of the levels inside of each of the indicators can be turned on and off. Okay, so you do have that ability. So you can include them or exclude them from generating the signal. Okay, you can use only the divergences you like. For example, there's 7 different potential divergences. You may want to use them all. I personally use 3 of those 7. The other 4 I don't find as useful for my trading, but you may for yours. Okay. Just recently had it tuned up so it will generate a signal in the market analyzer. Big question. Everybody listen up. People love the Rockstar, and everybody wants to automate it using NinjaTrader's strategy builder. Okay. It won't work with NinjaTrader Strategy Builder because NinjaTrader only allows for NinjaTrader plots. In our experience, NinjaTrader plots are insufficient for us for the kind of the high performance indicators that we have. We've had to create our own plots. Therefore, because we have to use our own plots to get the signals that we get, where you cannot use it inside of a NinjaTrader built strategy. You can build a custom NinjaScript or C# strategy if you're a programmer. It can be used for that, just not with NinjaTrader Strategy Builder, okay? And it can generate uh, uh, different color signals during, or different signals. This is basically a font. See this star? It's really just a font. You can assign anything you want to this. We have an indicator I'll show you here in a little bit called the Naked Rockstar Zone, and I'll tell you why it's called that in a minute. But we have a trade take that if it's inside or outside the zone, it may or may not qualify. Because of that, we can say if it's inside the zone, we want it to print black. If it's outside the zone, we want it to print gold. Okay? Or you may want it to print bigger if it's outside the zone and smaller if it's inside the zone, or something like that. Or not print at all if it's inside the zone. You have that ability to edit it however you wish. Okay? And the real power is when we combine these with the other indicators that we use in the trade room to increase the confluence. So we have three indicators from which to develop a confluent condition, but we have many, many other layers of confluence that we are not including inside the RockStar, but we do put them on our charts, okay? So it's very easy to be combined that way. Now, you may wonder where in the world the name RockStar came from. It actually came from our traders. You might have mentioned, or remember I mentioned a trade called a speed flash, and it looked just like this. And so what happens, we call it a speed flash because it had a speed tick here, and our original divergence indicator, we still use it today. This is called the flash. Okay, so this is our very first divergence indicator that really put us on the map as being the leader in divergence indicators. And since then, we've used the same algorithm and developed another divergence indicator as well as the Super D that I told you about. Excuse me just a second. So the name came from our traders in the trade room, and it just kind of stuck. So we decided let's just call it the RockStar. Okay. So instead of what you're seeing here, all of these indicators, you may just see it right here. All right, so what's a RockStar trade? A RockStar trade attempts to take advantage of market manipulation during times of measurable underlying strengths and or weaknesses in the current bar, which often results in a pullback from the current trend, okay? Previous to the current bar, and the current bar, so that we can anticipate when exhaustion is likely. The longer the time frame, the more speculative and higher risk trading is due to market manipulations. We talked about this in the trade room today. It is, and somebody asked why we traded 1 minute charts. All right. The truth is the markets are very different today than they were just a few years ago, and this is because of the allowance of these market manipulators to use these supercomputers to add liquidity to the market. See, that's what the exchanges are doing. They're saying, okay, well, since you guys are adding this liquidity and we need that for the markets to be moving, we're going to allow you to have a certain advantage. But we're not going to allow you to do it anonymously. So they say, okay, well, we're going to do everything we can to hide what we're doing. You know, we still have to do things by the rules. So we're going to do everything we can to hide what we're doing. And again, there's another I've done. If you want to learn more information about that, ask Connor and he'll hook you up with the right webinar. That's an entire event right there. But the short version is that because of those people, trading has changed. Trading is different. You could be writing a trade for 15 an hour, whatever. Can you hear me now? Well, okay, so I'm on a different computer than the trade room is projected on, and it's also having click meeting issues. So click meeting, and it screwed up a lot of stuff just in the last week. Okay. All right. So I'm not sure how far I got into it. What you heard about the longer time frames, but the longer you're in a trade, the more speculative it becomes, is because uh, the um, the guys that are out there in the market makers dangerous for you to be for me to be in the market for very long. Okay. I do not want to be exposed to those market manipulations. So I want to be out of the market as much as possible. I want to make my money and put it away as fast as I can. The other high is no more um, trying to manage my emotions because I'm in and out so fast I don't have to worry about it. We do assume the trend is going to continue after the pullback. We are assuming every time we take a trade, it's a pullback, not a reversal. Now, we don't know that. We make that assumption because it's more likely it's a pullback than it's a reversal. If I could pick reversals with a high probability, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys in Jamaica somewhere because that's what everybody's been looking for is, how to pick the tops and bottoms. And nobody's been able to do that yet. But I can pick turning points that at least for a little bit are gonna turn and pull back before they decide what they want to do next. Okay, so it could be a full reversal. I have no a trailing stop or scale or anything like that. I'm going to hard target. I hard target every one of my trades, and most of the people in our trade room have adapted to that because they see the beauty. I got asked this question this morning also. We have between, I don't know, 50, 60 on average in the trade room at any given time. Could be 70, 80, 100 throughout the entire session every single day. And most of those traders, as far as I know, adopt a lot of my rules because I've been doing this for a very long time. Many of them adopt my rules and to fit their trading style a little bit. Is another real nice part about our system, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, so what's a rock star? Typical type of movement in the markets. Okay, you'll see areas of accumulation and distribution, which to us seem like nothing's happening. It's really boring, but this is actually where the big boys, the big money, are doing buying and selling. Again, they're covering their tracks, so they're doing it very quietly. This is one of those things where I said, yes, they're given advantages in the markets, but they're not allowed to hide on purpose I mean, they can't be transparent, but they can hide all they want. They're just not allowed to be transparent. They have to be out there for us to find. And so this is one of the ways that you figure doing. Um, I don't trade during this period of time. There's really nothing to do. Kind of let them do their thing. Then we start looking for these breakouts, okay, where we have these sudden hard pushes. Now, when we have those, we start generating our indicators. Okay, these are the indicators I was just talking about. This one is called the pullback alert, and I'll tell you that one in a minute. We start seeing these hard pushes coming out of this channel. Okay. When we start seeing these hard pushes, we're going to start to anticipate exhaustion. We're reading every single bar and we're printing on the bar the current conditions inside that bar that give us reason to believe that a pullback is very likely soon and coming soon, okay? So let's look more closely inside this bar here. One of the things that we're looking for that is very important and that we know how to read is that when you see a bar, when you look at a bar chart, you just see a bar. Okay, that's what you see. There's really not a lot of information. What we're looking for is we're looking for a bar where price is increasing or decreasing, but let's just use up for the example here, where price is increasing, yet momentum is decreasing. Okay. Now that doesn't sound like that would be possible, yet it's entirely possible. And if you know how to read it and you know what you're looking for and you find a bar where price is increasing but momentum is decreasing, that's where you're going to find a rock. Okay. That's where you're going to find an edge. That's where your opportunities are going to be. Okay. Now, that's a rock star trade. That's what we're looking for. Okay. Now, qualifying a rock star trade as a setup. How do you do that? Well, it's really, really simple. You can feel like it's complicated or overwhelming whenever you try something new. Okay. I love using driving a car as an example because most of us do it, and we can all kind of understand and remember that when you first started driving a car, you might have been nervous. You might have thought, oh, how can I remember all these things, my hands here, and to signal this far, before I turn, and to make sure that I start braking early enough, and how far back am I supposed to be from a red light, on and on and on and on. All these things that make you very nervous about driving. And then you just do it over and over and over again, and now you can drive, and it's called being unconsciously competent. You can drive and do an excellent job at it without even thinking about what you did to get from point A to point B, and that's really all this is. Take some concentration initially, but the more you do it, the more you practice it, the more experience you get, the easier it becomes, and you become unconsciously competent. Okay, so all we're doing is waiting. Okay, we're waiting for the next thing to happen before we go on to look for the next thing. Okay, so when the very first thing is we want to see a breakout from the most recent channel. Okay, once that breakout has happened, we want to look and see if the breakout is at least a couple of bars. If it is, okay, let's look for the next signal. Let's say, okay, that breakout, are those bars larger than the previous bars? Or did price just kind of start drifting? Okay, if they're larger, then we could see that there's actually some push. And if there's some push, volatility, which gives us the ability to anticipate exhaustion. Okay, does price become overbought, oversold? Give it a green light. Yep, it did. Now we go on to the next one. Sellers and buyers begin to increase competition by creating a churning action. That was that pullback alert, that little dot that I showed you in the previous slide. Are orders being processed faster than it's possible to change? Yep. Price moves into areas of strong support and resistance. Yep. Price and momentum no longer moving in the same direction. Yep. Price starts to weaken. You enter the trade. Price goes and price turns to follow momentum. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. All right. So here's the most recent channel. Okay. This is our channel. This is our brand new indicator called the Naked RockStar Zone, NRS Zone. Okay. This is for a trade we call the Naked RockStar, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. Okay, this is the Naked RockStar Zone. This zone is basically around the channel price has been in, so it's very easy for us to see when price breaks. Go look for the next item on the list. We've got this bar closed and this bar closed outside of this channel. So we have at least 2 bars. So let's go to the next one. The bars are significant of these bars and the size of these bars. These bars are significantly larger than the previous bars. Price has moved significantly further inside these 4 bars than it did in any of these, in these bars here, all right? So we give that a green light. Let's hope that price gets overbought or oversold. Yep, it did. All right, buyers and sellers, this is our pullback alert. This is when we get a big churning action inside of this bar. What happens here is price starts to go up, 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 and suddenly the sellers have been sitting up here waiting for the buyers to get here. And the sellers start attacking. The buyers aren't quite all right, am I back? All right. Thanks, James. The buyers aren't quite done, and the sellers are in here, and they're rested. They've been waiting for the buyers to push it up here. The buyers are now getting tired. They've pushed price from down here to up here, and they've pushed it and pushed it. They've been out here working, and the sellers have just been sitting here resting and waiting for the buyers to show up. So we get a lot of buying and selling going on here. Typically, what's going to happen here is the buyers are going to run out of gas, and the sellers are going to overwhelm them. When we see that, that's why we print our pullback alert here. Okay, there's a very good chance the buyers are gonna get very weak. All right, so we see that, and we can turn that into a green light. Are the orders being processed faster than retail traders have the ability to trade? Okay, you and I don't have supercomputers. You and I just have little laptops on our little wireless computers or whatever. We don't have the ability to process orders the way that the big boys do. So if we start reading the rate at which orders are being processed, and if they start going at a certain rate, we know there's no way you and I are doing that. It's got to be one of the big boys doing it. And if they're doing it for a reason. Okay? So we want to make sure that that's what's going on. So we can check that off. Now we have a green light. And we're looking for a strong area of support or resistance. These are our lines that we use for our support and resistance called FT reset lines. All right. So we want to see that price gets up inside. Actually, I like it to see it slam into this line and then pull back just like this did here. All right. So, yep, we have major support and resistance. This bar opens. RockStar prints on the very first tick of this bar. When I see this, I'm in. All right? That's where I enter the trade as fast as I can. Price begins to weaken. We enter the trade. And then price turns to follow momentum. Almost every time. All right. So I just showed you that setup, right? Price breaks out from the channel. So I'm starting to become aware. I'm watching 6 charts, right? And I'm on the microphone in the trade room. I don't necessarily say anything on the microphone when this happens. Okay? Now, if you'll notice, we have an indicator called the Mo meter. Notice how we go from these dark black bars up to a medium gray bars to a white bar, okay? The lighter the bar, the stronger the momentum, the higher the probability of exhaustion, the more likely the pullback, okay? So that's pretty simple, right? So we're watching the Mo meter start getting lighter in color, okay? So I'm conscious of this little break, and now I'm becoming a little bit more aware of this market. Again, I'm probably not saying anything in the trade room yet. I'm just watching. I'm assuming everybody's watching, but then again, I also know people drift away and watch YouTube and do other things. So that's why I'm saying, hey, pay attention. Okay. All right. So the bars are now getting wider and lighter and becoming overbought, which is the pink outline. I'm alert now. I'm coming on the mic and I'm saying, okay, watching, we'll just say this is the CL. I'm watching the CL. And that's pretty much all I'll say. And I do that just to wake people up. Whoops. Now, this is what I love. This is when price, you can see it moving faster and faster and faster and stronger into a major line of resistance, and it slams into that and stops dead in its tracks. It may test the other side, but pulls back. Okay, I love that because I know that the exhaustion, that it's like trying to climb a mountain, and then you get to the top of the mountain and you're exhausted, and they say, okay, well, you've got to climb. Now you've got to climb over this 50-foot wall and you're done. And you're just like, I can't do it. I'm out of gas. I'm done. All right, so that's what happens when we run up and hit these major lines of resistance. All right, now I'm engaged. Now I've got my hand on the mouse and I'm getting ready. Okay, I see that the buyers and sellers on this bar are starting to fight with each other. And I know the sellers are probably going to win because they've been sitting up there just waiting for this opportunity. Now I get a speed tick and I know, okay, this bar has been manipulated. And the big boys are doing this for a reason. That reason almost always leads to a pullback. And if you want to know the reasons, you can watch some of our other webinars. We talk about this stuff all the time. So not only do I have my hand on the mouse, I have my mouse pointer over on my trading dome, and I start moving my mouse to the point where I'm thinking that price is going to open on the next bar. Right there is where I'm going to try to put my trade on. Now, price is very likely still moving. So it could sit there long enough for me to get filled, or it could drop immediately, making it very difficult, if not impossible, to get filled. In which case, you just missed the trade. That's all. Worst thing could happen. So this is a picture perfect RockStar trade setup. This is what we hope for on every single one. They don't all look picture perfect. It would be wonderful if they all looked like this. Sometimes they get even better. Here's my favorite one. Everything just like I said, except at the open of this bar, price jumps up and hits this resistance. I'm going to, instead of down here, because I'm shorting this, right? I want to sell this. So instead of up here, price jumps up, had a little bit of steam left in it. The sellers or the buyers still had a little bit left. I feel pretty strong based on all this information that the buyers are exhausted and that the sellers are getting control. So if instead of getting filled here, take some fills up in here. Okay, that's my favorite. But once it starts to drop, I'm almost to target, or I might beat a target when it gets back in price. Okay, so this is my favorite setup. This is the one that I look for and I hope for, and I enter every one of them I can. Okay, now I'll show you a couple of these that, and I'm going to apologize in advance. I do this every time because people think their screens are blurry. It's not your screen. Okay, it is our video from the trade room. The trade room video is recorded every single day at a resolution that's just good enough to kind of see what's going on, but it's really not a, because again, we're in the trade room 3.5 hours every day, 5 days a week. That's an awful lot of storage of high resolution HD videos. Even as it is now, it's almost a gigabyte every single day that we're saving. So we have it recording at a very low resolution. So please forgive the the resolution and try to pay attention to what I'm trying to show you here. We have on two different charts at exactly the same time. We have a couple of trades. Okay. You'll notice on the right side, I think that's gold. Price is doing exactly what I just showed you. We had a channel here. It breaks out from the channel. It's the dark bars are getting lighter. We got oversold. We have a major resistance. We have a speed ticket under this line. And on the open of this bar, we have divergence signals. That's what this mess is here. There's a rock star in there. Excuse me. I probably got filled here and up in here. I do trade multiples. Then I'll just scroll through really fast. We got the same thing going on over here, by the way. And down it goes. Okay, so there's the winner. That's exactly what we're looking for every day. We get a version of this every day except today. That's not true. Some people took a few trades today. Today was a tough day. It was way too volatile today because of the news. I think the Korea news. I don't know. We got the same thing going on the other side. Notice the big push. Speed tick, this one happens to be blue. Pullback alert. Bar opens with divergence. And boom, up it goes. Okay? So these happened at the exact same time. I don't think there's anything else on here to show you. This is just me in the trade room. If you see all this going on, I was explaining to the people in the trade room all about that trade and what I did, okay, and what happened in the trade and why it worked so well. Okay, so we do a lot of that when we can. Now, a lot of questions we get are, how does the RockStar, print? Does it print? How late does it print? Do you have time? Yeah, you've got time. So here's a, excuse me, here's three charts, three identical charts, obviously. This one on the left has nothing on it. This is what you're probably looking at now. This one in the middle has our indicators that make up the RockStar on it, and then the one on the RockStar. So you can see how these things print. So you'll notice on as the condition exists, we started printing an oversold condition on the current bar, okay, not lagging. As the rate of orders exceeded us retail traders' ability to trade that fast, we print that speed tick real time on the current bar. Notice on the open of this bar, we have two different divergence oscillators, two different signals here. Up it goes. Notice when we have this confluence of events right here, got the RockStar here, right? It printed on the open of this bar. See, so you see why I think, like, why do we need this? I have everything I need right here. Well, I've been doing it for many, many years. So to me, it's natural. This was natural. This has helped so many people get better at doing this so much faster. And that's for getting so much interest in the RockStar now. We're not doing something new, something different. We're doing the same thing we've always done. We're just making it easier and more efficient. Okay? Notice the confluence, RockStar. You guys hear me? No, Frank, it doesn't. It doesn't have any significance as it relates to generating a signal. It may have significance as it relates to placing a trade. Okay, and I'll talk about that in a minute. All right, so see how all these print in real time right there while you're looking. Oh, notice, yeah, we had an overbought condition. We had a speed tick. Something's missing, so we didn't print a RockStar. All right, so everybody got that, understand how that works. Look at a couple different variations. All right, so when you're first learning to drive, you're taught very strict and disciplined ways of doing things, right? And probably you're going to do, because you've got your instructor there or your dad or whoever, you want to make sure that you do things just exactly right. And you're going to think about every single thing that you're doing, and you want to do it exactly the way he tells you to do it, because you know that he's speaking from experience, and he's going to teach you the safest and most efficient way to do something, to drive this car. Okay? But after a while, you become pretty relaxed. You become able to do more than just one thing and thinking about just one thing. In fact, driving is something that you even rarely think about anymore. So we get to a point where, yeah, it's probably higher risk, but we're still able to successfully most of the time, and we're able to accomplish more. I don't know, eating and driving at the same time, talking on the phone and driving at the same time, talking to a friend, doing other things. My wife puts her foot up on the dashboard on her left foot while she's driving. I don't know how she does that, but she's very competent at that. We get from point A to point B quite well. Okay, so she doesn't have to follow these very strict and disciplined rules to get the car from point A to point B very safely. Okay, this is the same way we approach our trading. I trade a particular style in the trading room, and a lot of people have adopted that style. A lot of people have taken my style and tuned it to fit themselves better. Okay, and you'll hear them and see them in the trading room. Okay, they do. We all do a real good job of posting our winners and our losers in the trading room, so everybody knows what we're doing. Okay, we're not hiding anything. None of our traders are hiding anything. Everybody, I've been to those trading rooms where everybody just posts winners, 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 and I feel like a complete idiot because I'm taking all these losses, and I'm like, am I the only idiot here that's taking these losses? Well, I'm not going to. I make sure that doesn't happen in our trade room because I tell people if you're going to post winners, you better post your losers too. And after a while, I kind of know what trades you take. And I'll know if you're not telling the truth and I'll call you out. Okay, so we're a little bit different in our trade room. We want everybody to be upfront and honest. Okay, now a couple of variations. Told you I'd tell you about the naked rock star. The ideal rock star is going to have a major line of support or resistance behind it. Okay, we want it behind it so that in the event that the trade wants to go against us, there's something there to help slow it down or push it back in our favor. For many years, I never took a trade unless it had support or resistance behind it. As I did that, I watched many, many, many rockstar trades go on to be potential winners, but I didn't trade them because I didn't have support or resistance behind it. So I started doing a study, and it took me a really long time, and I studied thousands and thousands of what we now call naked rock stars. It's called naked because it doesn't have the protection of the resistance behind the trade or support if it's a buy trade. Okay, so this would be called a naked rock star, but I want to make it a safer trade. So I have a couple of requirements. It's got to have more confluence if it's not going to have support or resistance. So it must have either an overbought, oversold condition prior to the rockstar, meaning once it gets outside this zone. So it's got to be outside the zone first of all. Cannot take a rockstar trade without support and resistance inside the zone. That's a no-no. Okay? Not a strong enough sense of exhaustion. Remember, that's one of the first things we want to do is qualify this as having a high probability of exhaustion. So we're going to add in, since we don't have resistance, we're going to add in, it needs either overbought, oversold, or a pullback alert, or preferably both, and be outside this zone. Okay, that's why it's called a naked rockstar zone. Inside the zone, no trade. Outside the zone, potential trade, as long as we have. Okay, so that's one version, the naked rockstar. We get a lot more opportunities for naked rockstar than the ideal rockstar that I showed you with support and resistance. So I've probably increased the number of trades I take each day by between 50 and 100% just by adding the naked rockstar to my trades. Okay. Now we also have trades that some of us take and some of us don't. And again, it's all part of your risk tolerance levels. It wouldn't be the type of trade I would recommend to somebody new. But once you get comfortable, once you've learned what to expect, once you've watched thousands of these, once you've mastered the other setups, you might look at these one bar breakouts because sometimes these one bar breakouts work out real nice. Now, if it's inside the zone, remember this is a naked rockstar zone. So if it's inside the zone, it still qualifies as long as I have this resistance behind my trade. Okay. So we have a strong zone. I don't need an overbought or an oversold condition. I don't need a pullback alert. All I need is the RockStar, and then I'll take and this will I'll buy or I'll sell this right here. Okay. Now you're saying, well, how can you have a RockStar if it's not overbought, oversold? Remember, you can turn the RockStar on and off inside the indicator. For my personal trading, I turn it off because I like to see the candlesticks because I don't take my eyes most of the time off of my charts. This gives me a heads up to be paying attention. Remember, I showed you that it's part of the step-by-step process. So for my thing, I don't require an overbought or an oversold condition to generate a RockStar. I turn it off on mine. Other people turn it on. It's an option for you. Okay. And again, most of this is going to be for, well, no, it's for everybody. Whether you want to learn to trade our style and you want to invest in one of our bundles and come to our trade room and work with us, it would apply to you. It would also apply to the people that are just looking to put this on your charts to add to your trading system. Okay. So you may have heard we trade for 5 ticks. Why only 5 ticks? Well, in these pullbacks. And these pullbacks, there's a lot of things that we know by measuring a lot of different conditions inside the current bar. There's a lot of things we know. And a lot of things we can expect to happen because of what we know. However, there's something we don't know. We don't know how far the pullback is going to go. Is it going to be 3 ticks? Is it going to be 30 ticks? I don't know. I just know I can expect a pullback. And from a lot of my testing and a lot of my experience over the years, 5 ticks is my sweet spot. Most of the time, not all of the time, most of the time it's going to go at least 5 ticks. That's the money I'm going to put in the bank and just giggle all day long watching it go 10 ticks, 15, 20, 30. I don't care because I'm hard targeting. I'm getting my little piece. I'm putting it in my account or my trading account. And then whatever happens after that, I don't care. Now you're thinking, well, how can I make money at that? It's really not that hard when you get good at it. So on the left, you see $10 per tick instrument. On the right, the $5 per tick instrument. And you can see how if you work and practice and you start watching your account grow a little at a time and you start trading a few more lots and you get really good at doing something really small and really simple like what we're talking about, and you trade for net 3 winning trades per day. Maybe you're trading 3, 4, 5, 6 lots. You can see how that can start to add up. Okay? This is after the fees have been taken out. It can add up. All right? All right, so our 2 great offers again today. Connor said he told me $575 and now he's selling me $550. So apparently it's $550. So pretend that's a $75 bill there instead of a $50. And you can get the RockStar for $75 off, and we'll also give you a week in the trade room.